Hey, Brandon here. This is channeled advice on the week ahead. How are you doing? This will be for the week of November 25th through December 1st. That's Monday through Sunday. And I am excited to jump into this. I've got channel messages that came through ahead of time from my spirit guides, the angels, and source on the week ahead. And I'll also be flowing with any additional channeled information that comes through from my spirit guides, the angels, and source to clarify these further. Additional information that just comes through in addition to this. So, I'll be working with my intuition and all that as well. So, let's delve into this in just a second. Before we get started, I'd like to take a second to thank those of you who purchased a channeled reading on 2025. That's going to be sent to you in a video that I'm recording per order. There were 25 slots for those of you not familiar, just to make sure things don't get out of hand. 21 of them have already sold. So if you're still interested, there are still 4 slots left that you can book on my website. You can go to brandonhbloom.com, or there'll be a link below. And if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see, a link to check out more information on it and book that if that feels resonant for you. So I'll let you look into that if you feel called to that. I'll be sending those out over the next month for sure. And if I'd like to make sure the quality's fully there. And of course, I'm not going to rush them. I'm going to make sure that we have a quality product going out to you guys with those videos going your way. But end of January will be the latest that those will be sent out. I'm just planning on them coming out much sooner. So you can look at that if you're interested. Beyond that, let's start here. So I do have things that came through ahead of time. However, they probably have additional information before I start reading those. So I want to see what they'd like to start with. The first thing they're showing me is a parrot. And the parrot is about, for this channel reading, what I'm getting it means for you guys is not regurgitating information overly much, and instead like really checking in with your internal barometer, your intuition, your inner guidance, your divine guidance, wherever you're at with all that, to make sure what you're going with is true and what you're saying to others is for their highest good and is true, essentially, because there's a lot of spiritual misinformation out there. There's a lot of people who've decided things are true when they're actually not true. There's a lot of people who believe certain things spiritually and then they just kind of go with it instead of really checking in with their intuition. Be like, oh, is that true? Is that thing that someone said true? Is that thing that I believe true? Or is there something else that is more true or actually true or something that would be better for me? So just watch out for that right now. For some reason, there's a message about a lot of spiritual information flying around right now, and not just lapping that up and saying it to everybody. It does also apply to certain more conventional things, I guess, like the news and what people in the comment sections are saying about world events. It's just kind of important. You're coming back to your own barometer and your own discernment and your own intuition to see what's true for you about everything. And I always highly recommend that. It's just coming through as a message strongly right now for some reason, and that's going to be important for at least most of you for some reason this upcoming week and potentially beyond as well. Next thing they're showing me, there's a deer, there's a cricket, and they're also showing me, well, they don't want me to tell you the other thing yet, so we'll get to those things first. With the deer, it's about grace. I'm getting there's like some ease coming in, which is fantastic. If you've been inviting that in, great work. Okay, so for some reason, they'd like to tell you guys about another tool that this is completely not my thing I've channeled through. It's from the modality Access Consciousness, which they keep having me refer to for these, which I think is interesting. However, one of the tools they talk about, and again, not my thing, it's them. It's all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And what they recommend is, well, let me see how they want me to talk about this here, my spirit guides on this here. If you say it 10 times in the morning and 10 times in the evening, it's supposed to help you and really shift things. And even if you say it for like 6 months, I'm not saying like do it one time and, like keep going with it if you feel called to it. It's supposed to bring more ease, more joy, and more glory. And to them, glory is exuberant expression and abundance. So it's all good stuff. But you'll probably notice as you're saying it, like there's like a lightness, like an energy of lightness and space around you and ease, and you'll notice things start to show up differently if you employ that. So I guess that's that. But beyond that, with that idea, I would ask for ease with like everything, like manifestations you're putting out there, with new directions you'd like to go in, with things you'd like to bring in, and like, what will it take for that to show up with ease? Or just like, hey, I'm asking for this and I ask that it shows up with ease. Or what will it take for me to have more money with ease, or something like that. it's like important you're at least giving that a shot and giving the universe a chance to hand you some ease instead of assuming it can't be easy, which might even go back to that misinformation thing we just talked about, where it's like, what if it can have ease to it? And what if maybe all you have to do, or one of the things you might have to do, is just shift the belief that it can't be easy, and then it being easier can show up for you. So that's all they kind of wanted to say on that here. With the cricket, it's about good luck as well. I think Deer was talking to Ease and Grace. So cricket with good luck here. There is like an energy rising this week and beyond with like a bit more luck to it. There's also this message I'm getting about things becoming more quantum, which for this crowd, which is really interesting. Which we're gonna get into number when we get to number one here. We'll get into that. Mm, so let me see what's up with I'm just getting like you're gonna be at least a little bit luckier this week. I'd also like ask for luck and generate luck and the energy of luck. And you could do that simply by just saying like I am lucky 3 times every day, or manifesting it or asking for it or getting in that energy of every day. Like if you were to just be like, what would it be like if I were really, really amazingly lucky? I had just all like infinite good luck or something like that. And you get the energy of that. Like you can get it from source, or you could just get the energy of what it would be like and sit with that. And then if you sit with that energy for a few minutes, you start to magnetize it towards you more. You start to generate, you start to have more luck, I guess. So I guess like there's going to be more luck, and can you generate more good luck if you feel called to it, if that feels like an aligned tool for you right now? And try not to have too many preconceived notions of like what luck is, or like assuming luck is only divine protection. It's like, yeah, that could be a part where like if you're really divinely guided, really divinely protected, and you're following your intuition, things probably play out in a way where it appears really lucky to others. But at the same time, what if luck is also an energy you can cultivate and live in and have more of just through generating that energy more and manifesting it and things like that. So I wouldn't write it off. I know some like self-help gurus or business motivation people are like, "What is that? Good luck." Brr, brr." And I'm doing this terrible impression, but they'll kind of say like, "Luck doesn't da da da. It's all about hard work. It's all about the pra, 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 and the grind set." And I would take that a little bit loosely. What if there's an easier path? What if there's a path of more grace? What if you can have good luck? And you could check intuitively like, okay, how much work is actually required for this thing, or and be willing to do what it takes as long as it's, a highest and best alignment for the highest good, just not getting sucked into the belief that things have to be difficult. So I'm getting to tell you that good luck is a thing. You can generate it. Let's move on before I talk about that too much here. And what else came forward here? So there is a message about surprises, and they'd like to do number one first. So let's get to the first thing that came through ahead of time. And all that just came through is what they wanted to bring through before we got to what I channeled through ahead of time. So for anyone new here, number one, they showed me a grasshopper. And I'm sure some of you might remember the TikTok live days where grasshopper would show up like for every reading. However, it's showing up here. And the message is quantum leap territory. We'll talk about how that links into surprises in just a second. A lot of people, here's what came through ahead of time. A lot of people are venturing into quantum leap territory to prepare for 2025 and even like 2026 and 27 and the time beyond is something I'm getting, because we're really changing tracks. And some of you already have, many of you probably have already at least seen inklings of that or have seen it. It's gonna like keep happening though. It's almost like a cascade of like, the way they're saying it is timeline jumps and track changes that are gonna be occurring over the next few months. Some of you might have no idea what I'm talking about. That's okay. We'll dig into the ramifications of that, I guess, in a second here. So let me read this. A lot of people are venturing into quantum leap territory to prepare for 2025 and beyond. You are going to have rapid shifts over the next 2 months and a lot of realizations about what you need to do next. Be patient with yourself as you shift and know things are aligning for your highest good and for the better. That's what I'm hearing. Quantum leaps are coming. Stay prepared. Don't get attached to your current reality, which is kind of a key. Funny enough, is not staying attached to how things currently are, because things can shift in an instant, and they can shift for the way better in an instant. Some people, maybe they win the lottery. That's a pretty instantaneous, big, usually positive shift, depending on how ready they are to handle that abundance, and are they prepared to shift how in the ways that's going to shift them when they have that kind of abundance. But it can also show up in other ways, like the love of your life shows up and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I didn't need to worry about love. It was just going to come this way the whole time. And I was freaking out about it for no reason. Or, you get a job offer that's really nice, or you get a promote. Like things can happen that can change your reality for the greater quickly. And I wouldn't write that off. Um, so, a bit more about this in the quantum leap territory. I'm getting this interesting message. The thing they're saying is like things are becoming more quantum for this crowd, so things are gonna like be able to change a lot more readily, especially over the next like 3 months or so. You're really gonna see it where people change trajectories. They have surprise changes that maybe they throw you for a loop, but to get you on a much better path, or maybe it's just full of joy and celebration. And you're just on a much better path. And it's kind of both. It's like changes that happen to you that throw you on a different trajectory, or you having a really clear knowing, or just it becomes very obvious, like, I need to go this other direction, or I need to change this, or just becomes very clear to you what you need to do to get to the place you'd like to go, or get to a better place, or to change things you've been perhaps looking to change, or it just maybe it just comes as a complete surprise. So that's part of what they mean by surprises and surprises coming in. There's also a message about surprise gifts, and that's going to kind of be more random, is what they're saying, from the universe and different for each of you. So try not to pigeonhole what you think surprise gifts means before it shows up for you, because it could be completely unexpected, or it could be a very obvious thing too. Whether I'm not going to pigeonhole it at all. I'm going to let that be free and loose and let them do with it what they will and have fun with that, because the angels are they're already showing angels like shaking Christmas boxes, and like the stuff's moving around like inside and stuff like that. So they're gonna have fun with that one, it sounds like. So number two, they're telling me to move on to number two. The Fool Tarot card is what they showed me for number two, and they literally just had me write the Fool Tarot card. So I didn't pull any cards for this. I haven't pulled a card for any of these channeled advice on the week ahead things since I started doing it on the newsletter, like way earlier. I forget when I started. However, I just channel the messages, and flow with what is channeling through, what my spirit guides, the angels and source are saying, what my intuition is showing me, just so you know. And it works for me. So that's just the way I approach it. And I'm hearing to say it. That's how I facilitate my one-on-one channeled intuitive readings as well. So yeah, just is what it is, I guess. Anyways, now is a time for leaps of faith and sudden changes, kind of like we were just talking about. Be patient with yourself as things change. Things are aligning for your best trajectory. Be patient, be patient, be patient. New beginnings are coming next year. So I realize that might sound a little bit trite. New beginnings are coming next year. It's just what I'm hearing. I'm just getting it's like early 2025, like February, March, April, maybe January for some of you. It's like the first quarter of 2025 is what I'm getting, is like the quantum leap, new beginning, surprises territory, rapid shifts, like just starting now is what I'm getting. So you're going to have a lot of new beginnings, leaps of faith, like redirections, but it's all for the best. It's all leading to a good place, and it's all divinely guided is what I'm getting. So will you allow that change and allow yourself to shift and allow things to not be the same? Because it's going to be for the highest good, and I'm getting you're going to enjoy it is what I'm hearing, which is great as well. So try not to put too much on this one. Again, I'd hold it a little bit loosely. I'd see what shows up and not pigeonhole it in it has to turn out this way, because what if the universe has something 10 times better, or there's a different area that needs to shift first, before the thing you would like to shift shifts. Not to put anything on it, just trying to get you to hold it loosely enough that you can see what the universe is doing and not get attached to one outcome right now. Because again, what if something 20 times better shows up in the next month or year? So hold it loosely. Let's see what transpires. I'm excited for the shift, though, based on what I'm hearing for you, and however it applies to me. Number three here, they show me the color blue and rain, and there are like 3 or 4 different groups for this one I'll be talking to. That for those of you who are showing up for this and watching this one, there's like a group 1 where you've been feeling down for a long time. There's group 2 where maybe things seemed a bit blue, recently. And then group 3 where you've been doing pretty well, or maybe you've been on a high in a good way, not on drugs. And, group 4 for this one is, kind of a wild card that we'll get to once we get through these first 3 groups. So, for group 1, if you have been feeling down for a long time recently, it is time to investigate that. What healing do you need? What shifts do you need? Like, what needs to shift in your life or in you? What can you move towards to help yourself? And, like, what can you do every day to help yourself? Like, it's time to not just write it off if it's been, like if you've been down for, like, months or a year or years or something like that. It's kinda time to be like, what's under the surface with this? What's going on? Like, where can I turn to for help or support to begin to shift this? And, like, what can I start to do to take this a certain amount of seriously that works for you and, actually put in place the things that are gonna shift it? Like, do you need to see legal disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. Do you need to see a doctor? Do you need to see a therapist? Do you need to look into different healing modalities you haven't tried yet? Like, just really, really sit with like what would help you. And if you're intuitive, you can get those messages, or you can channel on it. If you channel, you can start putting it out to the universe of like, hey, universe, what would shift this? Like, what would get me to a better place? It's just for some reason, what I'm hearing for this one is it's time to take it a little bit more seriously and time to move towards your best life. And this for a long period of time, if you're feeling down or blue, probably not your best life. And it's not like we need to judge it. It's not like we need to, you don't need to beat up on yourself about it either. Like, that's probably not going to help. It's more just getting you to recognize like something else is possible and you can begin to move towards that. And this doesn't have to be your world long term. For group 2, they just said like the skies are going to just clear up for you. And this is more if you've been feeling like blue recently or like maybe just the past month, or something like that. So things are no longer going to seem so blue for you, and it's going to be very quick. The universe is drying you off metaphorically, like if you were out in the rain, for a bit, and then the universe is like, "Come here," and it has like the blow dryer and like drying you off with a towel. But it's drying you off for your next phase, and you might have just been going through like a clearing for your next phase, where it's like something needs to shift, something needs to release, something needs to be like looked at and released or come up for release before like the really good thing can come in or the really good shift can happen. So I'm getting for group 2, that's all you were going through, and you don't need to don't need to freak out about it. Um, if you suspect you might be part of group 1, you can look into that as well. Though those of you in group 2, most of you, like 99% of you, if not 100% of you, are just going to be good, like 99.9%. Group 3 is if you haven't been feeling blue or down at all. So things are just going to keep getting better. So keep a positive attitude and keep doing what you know to do to improve things. Things can just keep getting better. And what I'm hearing to say is that's the reality I would like you to live in is it's always without limitation, without limiting where you're at now, without limiting how good things can be moment to moment, things can always get better. Like there's a way to improve this. Things don't have to dip down after things are good. It can just keep getting better. And you can put that reality in place. And the more you're willing and able to allow that, the more you're going to have that. And the more you believe that, the more you're going to be able to have that and put that in place as your reality. So, can you shed anything, if anything's there at all, that says things can't just keep getting better because they can, is what they'd like to say. And so for group 4, it's saying if you don't resonate with any of these, groups 1, 2, or 3, and you're kind of just scratching your head at why this was in this video at all, because maybe normally these resonate for you. Let me see what's up with group 4 here. Um, I'm getting this weird message like you kind of get to choose what you'd like to have next. It's saying like, are you ready to create your world? Are you ready to manifest in a bigger way? Are you ready to uh, create your life the way you'd like it to be? Because you can have that, and you're in a really good spot to do that. Is what I'm getting. So maybe you haven't really been blue. Maybe you haven't really been like really good. For some reason, you're scratching your head at this. It doesn't really, the number 3 here doesn't seem to really be hitting for you. Time to create your life is what I'm getting, and time to go. Maybe I hesitate to say the word go hard, but it's the word I'm hearing, like go hard with that, or put some work into that, put some effort into that, and see what you can create, because there's a lot of possibility for you. And you could be group 3 pretty soon here, at least in the next month or two, if you're really working towards what you'd like to have. So don't write yourself off. Um, you can create the life you'd like to have. And anyone here can create the life they'd like to have. Let's not limit it. if anything's possible, there's a way the life you'd like to have is possible for you somehow, some way. And are you willing to go on the journey to have that regardless of what it takes? As long as you're working in a way that's for the highest good, in a way that's highest and best aligned, are you willing to do what it takes? Is what I'd say to those of you who heard me talk to group four and you're like, no fair, me want that. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. I want that. And it's like, okay, are you willing to do what it takes and go on that journey uh, to have that? Okay, because you can. Number 4 here. So we're past those 3 to 4 groups from number 3. We're moving on to number 4 channel message that came through ahead of time. Should be lightning and the redirection rise. And we kind of already mentioned it, but we'll read this anyways. There's a big redirection energy and a sudden knowing of where you need to go. Everything will be all right. Sometimes the universe just needs everyone to change course at the same time, or the pieces need to move in different ways. You haven't done anything wrong. Things are just redirecting. Trust your inner knowing on what to do, or trust your divine guidance, your intuition, etc. Whatever you rely on, whatever you work with. And I know sometimes different people have different words for different things, so I'm doing my best. I'm just bringing through what I get. So please receive this in a way that works for you. Take the message in a way that works for you. But anyways, so just kind of like what we talked about earlier with like the quantum and the track changes, like there's just a lot of redirection and like sudden realizations of like, oh, I need to do this with the business I'm facilitating, or like, oh, I need to go this direction on social media, or oh, I need to leave this group, or oh, I need to join this thing. Like it's just kind of that really sudden like flash and like knowing and like we need to go a different direction. And for some reason, I'll tell you because I'm feeling called to tell you the thing I kept seeing with the lightning flash is like a horse rearing up on its hind legs. It's like going a certain direction, and then like the lightning flashes and it like rears up on its hind legs and starts going a completely different course or in a different direction, but it's like better and it's like the correct path. So it's not a bad thing. It's just sometimes, what's the best thing to say here? Sometimes when we're going through certain things or on a certain trajectory, what if that was one of the only ways or one of the best ways spirit could get us in a certain position so we could move towards what we were supposed to move to, whether it was like a lesson or learning or wisdom or knowledge we gained along the way, or it was realizing what we wouldn't like in our life, like such as in a relationship. And we're like, why did we go through that relationship? And you learned all this knowledge and wisdom on like what you would not like as a relationship and what's important to you that maybe you didn't even think about before. For example, and it could show up in a number of different ways, of course. It's just an example. Um, or maybe you learn something that will like guarantee your success in the next thing or allow you to really succeed in what you're supposed to succeed in. So try not to judge your path if things redirect or think you're doing something wrong. It's working out for the highest good. You didn't do anything wrong. Things just need to redirect is what I'm hearing regarding this redirection message. So keep a lookout on that for now, I guess, with all that. And it's kind of coming in along with like the quantum message, the leap of faith message, the clarity message, all of that. Number 5, they showed me the sun, which is great. I love this message. They said, many of you are headed towards a brighter future. Your future is crafted now and with what you choose to do. At least in part. Will you take the opportunities source is handing you to improve your world? It could be a modality, it could be a course, it could be a book, it could be an idea your friend hands you, it could be, a channel message you get. It could be a lot of different things. Will you start putting in place the practices that will improve your world every day? Or that's manifesting or getting in a good energy, or it's a self Reiki session if you facilitate Reiki, or it's exercises you need to do, but you're kind of not doing them, but your world would be better if you did them, and your guides say to do them, but you kind of blow them off and eat Cheez-Its instead. Yeah, nothing wrong with Cheez-Its. And I guess like if to segue into something, I would go with if you're in the place to do this intuitively, channeled wise, consciousness wise, I'd go with what your body asks for, not with the projection or judgment of, oh, I need to eat this because this is healthy, or not eat this because this is not healthy. Because your body, if you get in tune with that stuff, your body might surprise you with what it asks for. And you might be surprised with how much good that does you when you're operating actually intuitively and divinely guided wise and consciously with what your body's asking for, and you're really in tune with that. It really makes the world greater. So highly recommended you look into things like that if when it comes to things like that, but that's a whole other story. For some reason, they wanted to bring in the Cheez-Its joke, so whatever. Anyways, what else do we need to say about this one here? So I'll just say again, like, this is your reminder to do every day what will make your world greater. Whatever that is, it's exercises, self-healing, self-improvement exercises. It's if you need to rest, you listen to your intuition, whatever it is, okay? The last bit here they brought through ahead of time, unless there's something else I'd like to say. They're showing me a falcon with this, which might be a sign for some of you. This I'm not sure if a sunbird is an actual type of bird. Okay, it's like a phrase they started giving me a couple weeks ago, or maybe last month for some of these videos. There's also like a phoenix showing up here. There's all this like rising symbology as well, like speed and like rising and like sun. So what's up with all that here? So for some of you, this might not be for all of you. There's also a flamingo and like or a crane showing up here. So a couple of additional messages, like with the phoenix. Like some of you are the phoenix. It's like you're rebirthing really hard now and potentially this next year, and it's sort of really time to rise from the ashes of your past, which is awesome. Like it's time to succeed. It's time to gain away. It's time to really move forward and crush it is the ways I'm hearing it for the highest good, in a great way. So congrats on that. With the other birds showing up here with falcon, it's like it's just saying things are going to change quickly. So keep your head on your shoulders and just do your best with all of it. You'll do great. With the crane showing up here, it's about grace as well. So again, like we talked about earlier, ask for ease with all the change that's showing up. And with flamingo, balance is the word. And it's just saying like staying balanced is really something to focus on in whatever area you need it. And maybe that is like diet and staying balanced with what your body's asking for and what you need, or it's balancing out work versus play, or it's balancing out, well, you're spending all this time with this person, but what about work and how much time, if you have a business and like you start spending time with this person instead, which is nothing wrong with that. It's like, well, do you maybe need to balance it out a bit more and spend more time with your work and have more of a balanced approach to things? So it sounds a little bit trite. However, flamingo, a spirit animal showing up here, is saying balance is key. And can you stay balanced through these times for great results? Because staying balanced within yourself is going to bring you best results, regardless of what's going on in the world, which you don't need to get pulled around by and get too distracted from your own life by. And it's like, let me see what the best thing to say is. If you have things you can do to contribute to the world being a greater place and to change certain things going on in the world, and you're like, I know what I can do, I know I can have this impact, great. If you're called to do it, do it. Um, if you're sitting there worried about the world and freaking out about what's going on, but you're not really doing much about it, or you don't have much you can do about it, in some ways, it's just a distraction to stay so wrapped up in it that you're constantly in worry and fear without taking action in your own life. And it's a little bit disempowered because if you're disconnected from your present and what you can do in your world and your life for you, the people around you, and your corner of the world that spirit has handed you to take care of, even if that's just you in your own life right now, um, that's taking you away potentially from your power and your wherewithal to change you and change your world and improve you and improve your world and have the effect that has on the collective and the people around you in the world, and then as above so below ways. So it's okay to be aware of what's going on in the world and to keep tabs if you feel called to. It's just don't get pulled off your center and off balance to the point that you're ineffective for you and the people around you, and it's just at that point, it's not really serving you. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying don't have compassion for the things going on in the world or don't care about the things going on in the world. I'm not sure if that's the best move either. It's more just like doing what works for you so you can create the best world for you in a way that's highest and best aligned for the highest good, or, aligning for the highest good. And let that have the effect or the knock-on effect that's supposed to have around you. Okay. And it keeps you in your seat of power, keeps you creating your best life, or at least more in that direction. It keeps you more aligned. So, anyways, going forward with all that came through. I wasn't expecting all that to come through like that. So, the next message for this, they don't want me to get into it yet. So, anything else before? So, with Sunbird, did we talk about Sunbird yet? Well, we kind of went to Phoenix here. Let me see if there's something else with Sunbird here. There's a message about it's time to shine and it's time to shine in the ways you're meant to, and it's time to maneuver towards that instead of delaying that every day or be like, oh, maybe next year, maybe next month. It's like, what can you do now? If there's something you'd like to do, like if you'd like to be a world famous musician, can you at least be practicing your instrument right now, or something to move in that direction? Can you at least be practicing your shining and allowing yourself to shine in some way, or working on your gifts to improve them, hone them in, and bring to the world what you feel called to the world? It's kind of saying, when you shine, you give everyone else a chance to shine or shift so that they can shine. And I know we can talk about jealousy sometimes a lot for these readings. However, if you're dimming your light for others, it's not necessarily serving them. Even if they'd be really jealous if you shined, excuse me, it's kind of like if you shining is giving them the awareness that their life is not how they'd like it to be, you're giving them a gift, because then they can look at things and go, oh, I'm jealous, and that I realize now I'd really like more in my life, whereas before, I was just trying to keep everyone else small so that I could feel good about where I was at. However, that's not working, and I'm realizing now I'd actually like a greater life, and I haven't been doing the things to get towards that. So now I have a chance with this awareness to do that. So by not shining when you could, just because you're afraid of other people's reactions, you're leaving them potentially. A way I've heard it is like in arrested development. I think I heard that Lee Harris said it that particular way. It was like, click, go. I get it. And so really consider that. And I might have just flowed with a different way than he said it, with what I just said too. So, but you understand the premise, it's like you shining actually does serve the world more than you ever dimming your light ever will, to save someone's feelings, which is, it's very selfish of them, and probably egoic and maybe even childish if someone's like, why did they have shining and money and I don't, when they didn't really do the work to have those things, and they're not really willing to look at themselves to realize what's going on internally to shift those feelings and emotions and take things in a more just things are what they are kind of way, or more in a way that's of awareness and consciousness. It at least gives them the opportunity to do their self work. So it's not if that's something you deal with, it'd be better for you to probably learn how to shine and be successful anyways, regardless of anyone's reactions, so that they can't control you with their feelings, their reactions, their judgments, projections, and their stories, which is all just kind of a lot of that's like a victim thing you could consider. If they're trying to control everyone else with their feelings, it's not good to reinforce that that works, probably, so that they keep doing it to everyone. Okay. Um, just as another way to consider it. I might not have said it like totally perfectly. Uh, in a lot of ways, though, if I didn't say it perfectly, I feel like I'm really close. So consider all of that here. It doesn't mean don't have compassion for people. It's just like don't let other people control you with their versions of reality they have in their head, based on their stories, their beliefs, their ego, their emotions, their feelings. Because if they were coming from total like awareness and consciousness and knowing, they might have stuff come up, but they'd be willing to work through it instead of throwing their feelings and blaming you for shining and whatever that their story said, making them look bad, or they're supposed to be the funny one, not you, or they're supposed to be the one who does this and not you, whatever it is. It's a weird, silly story. So, anyways, number 6 here. Okay. Number 6, they showed me a rainbow, and they said, what are the things you focus on that make your world greater? Focus on those. So, if you have something you focus on and it helps upshift your world and make it better, keep focusing on those things. Like if it's channel messages, for example, or maybe it's Reiki videos on YouTube, or I'm just giving examples, maybe it's a certain magazine, you always feel uplifted after it, or it's like a book and you always feel better after you read a certain book. It's like, can you keep bringing your focus back to the exercises, the people, the habits, the pastimes, the hobbies maybe that light you up and fill you up? And it makes your world greater when you put focus there. One idea that I'll share with you that they're telling me to share with you is, for example, let's say you're working on abundance. You'd like more abundance in your world. What if you took at least 5 minutes a day, or probably more if you can, depending on how much time you have available to you, to make sure you're reading something, watching something, listening to something, etc., that leans itself towards you generating more abundance in your world. So it's like a book on creating abundance in your world. And like you just make sure you read, maybe you just flip it open and you're like, what do I need to see right now? And you flip it open to that, or you just trust spirit, your process. Like sometimes you can just like flip open books and it just goes right to what you need, kind of like pulling a card. Or maybe it's like there's a course you have on abundance and you'll go and rewatch videos from that you're guided to go rewatch. Or maybe there's a podcast episode on building wealth or something that you'll listen to and start to put on. And it just kind of starts to get your focus going on the things it needs to be focused on to create what you'd like to create. And it moves your energy in a certain way, it moves your focus and attention in a certain way that gets you towards what you'd like to create more potentially, or gives you the awarenesses that will help you to create what you'd like to create more potentially. And it also gets your attention off of, if we're going with the abundance thing, the unabundant beliefs that people might be flinging around on social media, or the unhelpful considerations about money and rich people that someone might comment on a post. It gets you more focused on the way you'd actually like things to go, instead of all the made up reasons why it would be bad to have a certain thing. For example, like, it gets a more positive spin on it. So hopefully I said this in a way where it makes sense to you. There might have been a slightly better way I could have said it, but you get it. Is what I'm getting. So can you start to put your focus on the things that will create what you'd like to create, and move the energies in those directions? Anything else I need to say on that before we move on here? So I'd really get clear on, if you can, or sit with, or intuit, or channel right now, what are the things that are going to move the needle for you if you focus on them? And like, is it abundance? Is it money? Is it marketing? Is it business? Is it relationships? Is it love and how to create love in your life? Is it just boundaries? It could be so many different things, and those are all examples. So they're saying you get it. Let's move on. So they'd like me to read another message that was originally part of number 5, but they didn't want me to read it yet. So now we're going to read it. You never need to suffer unnecessarily. If you have a belief that suffering is necessary, shift it so your reality brings you something different. We kind of talked about it last week. Sometimes your beliefs can create your reality. And it's not necessarily that reality creates your beliefs, it's that you have a belief and it creates that reality. And so because of what's showing up, you think it's how it works, but it's just you have a belief that's generating that. So anything else I need to say on that? If you take that concept a little bit, like, do you have a belief? I'm not saying all of you have this, by the way, but do you have a belief that might be creating something like suffering is necessary, for example, and then your world kind of sucks more than it has to because of that belief that's there? And like, can you shift that? Um, and there are ways you can shift beliefs that we'll talk about, and all that too. Probably not in this video, but that's at least like a direction to look with. It's just something to consider right now, and munch on, because sometimes we don't realize what we're generating, but as we get clear on it, we can really change our world, because we are starting to get more clear on how things operate and how to shift things. Okay. So for some reason, that's like a hint they wanted me to throw your way today for some of you who have potentially been struggling. Number 7, they showed me a hydrofoil. And by the way, last week had some messages on like shifting beliefs, but so you can look at last week's video too. But anyway, number 7, hydrofoil, stay in your reality. Speaking of, this actually segues into this beautifully. Stay in your reality, not anyone else's. You don't have to buy the story the world is handing you. What do your guides say? Go with that over what anyone else is saying. What does your intuition say? Go with that over what anyone else is saying. What's your intuition telling you? Go with that. It's time to listen to you, especially if you know your intuition is honed in. And this is about creating your reality and not getting pulled into anyone else's world in a way that's destructive for you, or creates negative things that don't need to be there, I guess, is the way I'm hearing to say it for this crowd right now. And staying in your reality can be, what's the best way to say this? It's kind of what we just talked about. It's like, what are you generating? Maybe it's, what do you believe? Maybe it's like, what are you focusing on? What's your attention on? What is actually true for you? This is what they actually want me to talk about. So sorry about that. But anyways, if you can get clear intuitively on what's actually true for you about things, you're going to have a better reality, because there are a lot of projections and judgments society has about, like, for example, maybe there's like a lot of judgments and projections on like what's the right way to do a relationship or to do business. And if you're actually getting clear on what's true for you, you might have a totally different way that opens up that no one else is doing, or maybe a couple other people are doing something similar, and it works way better for you, and you're way more successful with those things because you're not living other people's realities with those things. You're clear on what's true for you. So the example they're saying would be a perfect example for this would be like relationships. Maybe because maybe something that, it depends on the culture probably that you were raised in and stuff. But let's say an example would be maybe most of Western society's idea on relationships, maybe more conservatively or traditionally. Sorry, I used that word. Probably wasn't a great word to use right now. But traditionally, where it's like, okay, it's got to be monogamy or it's wrong and it's a sin, and you gotta do it in this order, and you gotta get married, and then you gotta do it this way. Otherwise, it's wrong and it's sinful and it's taboo and da 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 da. But what if you get clear on what's actually true for you with what your guides say and what feels light to you energetically? Because I'm borrowing from Access again, but it's a helpful tool where like if you're clear, if like what's true for you feels light and what's a lie for you feels heavier. And once you get that honed in, it's pretty effortless to work with. Because someone will say something and you're like, oh, that's heavy. Or or maybe your guides will be like, heavy, that's not true. Or, maybe someone says something that's like light. You're like, oh, interesting, that's true for me. And maybe your guides will be like, that's light, that's true, or something, however they show up and say it for you. I'm really paraphrasing because they don't even say it. They do show up and do that for me, but I'm not saying it in the way they say it or with the visuals they show me with it, okay? And with the knowing that comes with it, etc. Anyways, let me see where they'd like to go with this one. Oh yeah, if maybe you get clear on what's true for you, and you're like, oh wait a second, that type of monogamous relationship doesn't even feel light to me. That doesn't feel like it's true as far as the best way for me to operate. It doesn't feel like it's true and like what will work best for me. Maybe it's better for me to just date around or just be like, hey, I don't do this type of relationship. I like to do this thing. Or maybe it'll work better for you to be polyamorous or something else entirely that hasn't been invented yet as far as a relationship um, structure. And that's not to say if you are married and monogamous, you're doing it wrong and that's bad. And that's not to say the opposite either and judge that as wrong. It's just saying, well, regardless of what everyone else is saying and projecting and judging and choosing, what's going to work for me in any area and doing that instead of doing what everyone else is doing just because that's what everyone else is doing and you're trying to get it right or whatever is going on, because you don't have to live everyone else's reality or way they're doing things. You can find the ways that work for you and do that and create a greater possibility for you and other people who might resonate for that or be inspired by that. So that's kind of it. There's probably a few more things they'll have me talk about before we totally close this out here. So I want to double check there aren't any last second messages for you here. So one thing they are showing me is grapes and like stained glass windows. So there are just like rewards and like sweet things coming in for all of you remaining watching. This is what I'm getting with the stained glass window. It's a reminder to try to live your life without any regrets for some reason. Cause there's like this angel in the window and they're kind of looking down and it's like, it reminds me of like a church, like the holding the baby. It's like holding a baby, but there's like a tear in this angel's eye. And for some reason, Aquarius is showing up. The Aquarius figure is showing up while I'm channeling and getting this message here in the stained glass window. There's also like a Taurus and maybe something to do with fire signs, but that might just be signs for some of you. Anyways, let me see what they're saying with here. So the question is like, what are you regretting right now, if anything? Is there a way you can live your life where you're not regretting that anymore? Or what are the things that if you didn't do them you would regret? And can you start incorporating that more? Because it's kind of time to live with no regrets is what I'm getting, and create your life in a way where there will be as little regret as possible because you have the opportunity now. Like you're alive and hopefully you're well, here. And to whatever capacity you can handle this message and incorporate it in your world, I'm hearing say, please do. Because like the better your life is, the better. And the better things go, the better. And there's no rule that says things have to get worse after they get better. Like that's just a projection. That's just an idea. It's not necessarily what's true, as we kind of just talked about with reality. And you're allowed to have a life you don't regret. So don't live your life for other people. Live it for you first and foremost. And if living your life for you is like it also entails helping people because that's what you feel called to, or that's like a mission you have, great. At the same time, living your life for you to a certain extent is going to be key right now, as long as it's for the highest good. I'm not saying to abandon everything in your life right now, unless that feels really light and intuitively like the best move for you, but it doesn't seem like the thing I'm getting to recommend. It's more just what would you regret if you didn't do or if you didn't move towards, and can you start doing those now? I'm getting it's time, or it will be in the next month or two ahead. So they're done. I hope that helped, resonated to whatever was free. I ask good. Just remember there are some rewards coming for some reasons, what they'd like to say before we totally close it out. If you'd like to go further with my work, just as a reminder, you can go to brandonhbloom.com. I do have one-on-one channeled intuitive readings. There's also the 4 slots, unless someone booked by the time that this gets posted, for the channeled intuitive reading on 2025. That will be sent to you as a video that I, film and channel for to order for you. So 4 slots left with that. If you're interested on channeled intuitive messages on 2025 specifically for you. And, I have a ton of other work. There's the Let's Go Higher membership with channeled intuitive readings on the month ahead, in addition to the ones on YouTube that are more focused on the membership group. There are a ton of there's a library of channel guided meditations, full channel mode sessions, live Q and channeled A sessions where members submit questions and I channel on those questions every month, and those just new ones every month, of course. So if any of that calls to you, and there's more in the store, brandonhbloom.com/store, as far as channeling sessions, channel guided meditations, etc., um, energy healing sessions, and different bundles of things like that. You can find that there, and that's meant to improve your world and do what's for the highest good for you if you're called to it. Other than that, I'm wishing you well. I hope this was a helpful video, and I'll see you in another channeled advice on the week ahead or other video.